there's a hidden language woven right into our everyday world, a secret code that whispers through ancient symbols, quiet corners of architecture, and the timeless allegories passed down through the centuries. You may have glimpsed these symbols before: a square and compass on an old building, an eye encased within a triangle, or the haunting image of a hooded figure holding tools that look at once arcane and strangely familiar. But here's the shocking part. These symbols aren't just decorative, they form a blueprint, a map left by those who believed in the power of transformation, not just in stone, but in the human mind. What if I'd told you that understanding this code could unlock deeper aspects of yourself and your potential, and that these clues, right in front of your eyes, point to a path of growth, resilience, and self-mastery that can redefine how you see reality itself? Sounds unbelievable, right? Maybe even a little unsettling. But that's exactly why you must keep watching. In just a few minutes, we're about to dive headfirst into the hidden world of Masonic symbolism, exploring why ancient builders, philosophers, and visionaries took such great pains to hide these teachings in plain sight. And we'll see that these secrets aren't buried in dusty tomes or locked away in forbidden vaults. They're right here, waiting for anyone bold enough to open their eyes. But before we begin, a fair warning. Once you see this for what it is, you can't unsee it. The structures around you, the artifacts in museums, the metaphors in old stories, everything might look different. You may find yourself thinking thoughts you've never dared to consider, questioning everything you took for granted. If you don't want to risk that kind of mental shift, now's your last chance to turn back. Otherwise, fasten your seatbelt, because this journey is about to get incredibly real. For centuries, Masons, skilled stonemasons, turned secret society, were known for their ability to construct architectural marvels, cathedrals, temples, grand lodges. But beneath the chisels and measuring tools, they also carried a deeper mission, building a kind of temple that wasn't made of stone or mortar, but of human character. On the surface, their symbols, like the square, the compass, the all-seeing eye, appear innocuous, even quaint. But these icons were used not just to guide physical construction, but to shape the mind. The square teaches moral rectitude. The compass preaches self-control. The eye demands awareness that penetrates all illusion. Each symbol draws from an ancient thread of wisdom that says, the ultimate building project is you. Now, you might ask, why hide this knowledge in allegories and cryptic imagery? Why not just state the secrets plainly? The Masons believed that true wisdom is earned. If someone isn't ready, they'll see these symbols as nothing more than curiosities or decorative flourishes. Only those who actively seek understanding, who yearn to explore life's deeper truths, will see the encoded message. In other words, the path remains open to all, but only those who bring the right kind of open-mindedness and determination will traverse it. Yet there's another reason too. Power can be dangerous if placed in the wrong hands. The knowledge of self-mastery, of psychological transformation, can be used to uplift or to dominate. By cloaking these truths in symbols, the Masons ensured that only those who were dedicated enough to unravel the layers could wield the power responsibly. This approach kept the wisdom safe from the superficial glance and from the unscrupulous seeker alike. In this sense, the idea of hidden knowledge becomes a paradox. It's hidden precisely because it's everywhere. The environment we occupy, from the layout of sacred buildings to the architecture of ancient cities, is filled with these signposts, yet we pass by them daily, oblivious, like reading a book in a language we don't understand. Once you learn to read it, everything changes. Imagine a legendary craftsman, a figure in countless Masonic allegories, tasked with building the grandest temple the world has ever seen. But instead of stone, he's working with something far more elusive, his own psyche. The Temple of Solomon, or the mythical Temple of the Mind. It goes by many names, but the essence remains the same. A structure that can withstand every trial life throws at it, built on an unwavering foundation of virtue and self-understanding. In the story, the builder sets out with high ideals, brimming with hope and ambition. He believes that by creating this wondrous temple, he'll not only prove his worth, but also uplift humanity. Yet almost immediately, he encounters obstacles, some external, some internal, betrayal from those he trusted, confusion spawned by the swirling chaos of his thoughts, emotional turbulence that tempts him to abandon the mission, reckless actions that threaten to dismantle everything he's worked for. But here's the turning point. Instead of letting these trials defeat him, the builder realizes these obstacles are precisely the tools that will refine him. He begins to see that each setback reveals a part of himself that he hadn't fully mastered: doubt, impatience, anger. And every time he confronts one of these shadows, he's forced to grow. He gains resilience, clarity, and wisdom. The very forces that once threatened to destroy him become the stepping stones of his transformation. The brilliance of this allegory lies in its universality. We are all builders in our own right, facing daily challenges that test our integrity, patience, and vision. Whether it's heartbreak, career hurdles, or inner fears, every adversity can either tear us down or become the shaping force that makes us stronger. This is the heart of Masonic teaching. The real temple you build is your own character. And the measure of your success is not how lavish the exterior appears, but how solid the foundations are when storms inevitably come. Most people never see it that way. They view their hardships as punishment or mere misfortune. But the Masons beckon us to ask, what if these challenges are precisely the chisel and hammer, the instruments that carve us into the masterpiece we're meant to be? By reframing adversity, we become active participants in our own development, rather than passive victims of fate. Let's talk specifics. It's one thing to say there are hidden messages in symbols. It's another to show exactly how they guide us. 3 of the most iconic Masonic emblems are the square, the compass, and the all-seeing eye. You've likely glimpsed them on building plaques, Masonic lodge doorways, or even on currency, yet never realized their deeper implications. The square, typically represented as a right-angle tool, it symbolizes moral integrity. To square your actions means to ensure they align with your highest ethical principles. Think about the last time you faced a moral dilemma. The easy path might have been to cut corners or twist the truth just a little. The square reminds us that anything built on a crooked foundation will eventually collapse. Only when we hold ourselves to a standard of honesty and uprightness do we create something that lasts. The compass. This is all about balance and boundaries. The compass draws a circle, reminding us to keep our passions and desires in check. It's not about suppressing who we are, but about self-control. If you let your emotions run rampant, rage, envy, uncontrolled lust, you spiral into chaos. If you stifle them completely, you lose the passion that drives creativity and love. The compass teaches moderation, the subtle art of channeling your inner fire without letting it burn you to ashes. The all-seeing eye, often encased within a triangle, this emblem exudes a sense of omniscience. Some interpret it as the eye of God, watching over creation. Others see it as the awakened human conscience, the inner observer that silently witnesses our every thought and deed. Both interpretations point to the same truth. Once you become aware, truly aware, of your motives, your patterns, and the illusions you cling to, you can no longer hide. This eye stares into every corner of your psyche, demanding honesty. It's the ultimate symbol of awareness beyond the superficial. Each symbol in its own way, acts as a beacon guiding the builder, guiding us toward mastery of thought, emotion, and action. They are the tools of an internal craft, quietly reminding us that every moment of our daily life is a chance to square our actions, compass our emotions, and see ourselves clearly. No grand journey is complete without confronting the dichotomy of light and darkness. In the Masonic tradition, these two forces are not mere opposites of good and evil. They represent knowledge versus ignorance, clarity versus confusion, awareness versus the hidden unknown. Think of the moment you enter a dark room. You can't see a thing. The shapes are there, but without light, they're invisible, mysterious, and often scary. Turn on a single flicker of a candle, and instantly, the shapes become objects, clear and identifiable. In our personal growth, darkness symbolizes those neglected parts of our lives or our psyche we don't want to face, trauma, insecurities, doubts. Meanwhile, light is the spark of insight that reveals and clarifies. The trick is realizing that darkness isn't merely bad. It's the canvas on which light can paint meaning. Without darkness, light can't have an impact. If the entire world was permanently awash in blazing light, we would eventually go blind to its brilliance. But the Masons also warn that too much light can be just as dangerous. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by an avalanche of information, battered by news, social media, or the endless barrage of opinions? You can feel lost in that glare, uncertain of what's real or what matters. Sometimes, stepping back into the quiet darkness, into reflection, solitude, or mindfulness, is what we need to restore balance. Light and darkness play a perpetual dance, each enabling the other to have meaning. For the builder in the Allegory, this realization is critical. He starts in darkness, confusion, betrayal, self-doubt. Gradually, he gains fragments of light, moments of clarity, understanding, and insight about his mission. But if he rushes for the light too fast, tries to know it all instantly, he risks being burned by illusions of grandeur or overwhelmed by complexity. The path is about integration, taking one step at a time, learning how to let just enough light in to continue growing without losing yourself. So the question for each of us becomes, where in our lives do we need more light? And where do we risk being blinded by too much? In seeing darkness as fertile soil for growth and light as the clarifying force that shapes that potential into reality, Masonic wisdom suggests that true mastery lies in being comfortable in both, in seeing darkness as fertile soil for growth and light as the clarifying force that shapes that potential into reality. Let's narrow the lens onto three fundamental forces that dictate the shape of our daily reality: thought, emotion, and action. Every human experience can be dissected into these three pillars. The Masons, in their allegories, emphasize how crucial it is to balance each one, like carefully aligning pillars that hold up the roof of a grand temple. Thought. This is the arena of the mind. Ideas, beliefs, logic, fantasies. It can be your greatest ally, sparking creativity, problem-solving, breakthroughs. But it can also be your worst enemy, swirling you in doubt, paranoia, or procrastination. A disciplined mind, or mastered thought, is like a skilled architect. It designs structures that are both beautiful and strong. A mind left to wander aimlessly can become a maze of confusion where potential goes to die. Emotion, the heartbeat of our existence. Emotions are what make us feel alive, fueling empathy, love, ambition, passion. Yet they can also turn destructive if left unchecked. Rage, jealousy, crippling fear. Masonic teachings say that an emotion is not inherently good or bad. It's neutral force. You're the conductor who must shape its energy into productive forms. Emotions can be the fiery forge where transformation happens. if we learn how to harness them. Action. This is where the rubber meets the road. You can think all day and feel intensely, but if you never act, what's the point? Conversely, if you act without thinking or feeling, you risk hollow, mechanical living. Action is the physical manifestation of the other two pillars, the tangible output that changes your life and the world around you. For the builder, action is laying each stone, selecting each tool, making decisions that either bring the temple closer to completion or threaten to knock it down. Most people fail in life because they can't get these three forces to work together harmoniously. They might have brilliant ideas but lack the emotional drive to follow through. Or they're brimming with passion but never create a plan of action. Or their action machine's always busy, but with no real direction or meaning behind their work. The Masonic lesson is clear. You must unify thought, emotion, and action. Get them aligned, and you become unstoppable, capable of building a life that stands the test of every storm. Now that we've explored the three pillars, imagine a grand staircase rising before you, each step representing a crucial facet of knowledge or skill. In Masonic tradition, these steps often reference classical fields of learning: grammar, rhetoric, logic, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. Why these 7? Because they were once considered the essential liberal arts that sharpen both mind and spirit. Grammar and rhetoric teach you the power of words, how to understand language and use it persuasively. In practical terms, this is about learning to articulate your truth clearly and effectively, so you can connect with others and refine your own thinking. Logic and arithmetic sharpen your reasoning, helping you see patterns, solve problems, and avoid being duped by false narratives, whether they come from the outside world or your own mental chatter. Geometry and astronomy remind you that there's an order to the cosmos. Geometry reveals the hidden proportions that govern structures, nature, even the human body. Astronomy lifts your gaze to the stars, suggesting a grand design, or at least a breathtaking vastness that puts your daily worries into perspective. Music, sometimes overlooked, speaks directly to the soul through harmony, rhythm, and vibration. It's a language that transcends words, tapping into the emotional and spiritual cores of who we are. As you ascend each step, you develop not just academic prowess, but a holistic awareness, a mind that can analyze and a heart that can feel. You begin to see how interconnected everything is. The logic of geometry bleeds into the beauty of music. The discipline of arithmetic bleeds into the structure of grammar. Each skill becomes another layer of your personal mastery. Yet, the final message of the stairway is that learning never ends. Once you've climbed these steps, there are always more. You can delve deeper or discover entirely new staircases. Growth is infinite. What matters is that each step expands your capacity to engage life with clarity, empathy, and creativity. This unending ascent is both exhilarating and humbling. The more you learn, the more you realize how vast the unknown still is. At the summit of many Masonic depictions, you'll often find the all-seeing eye. We touched on it earlier, but let's delve deeper. This eye isn't just about external surveillance. It's far more personal. Think of it as the inner witness, the aspect of consciousness that observes your own thoughts, emotions, and actions from a place of objectivity. Have you ever caught yourself mid-thought and wondered, why am I thinking this? Where did this belief come from? That's the I in action. It's the reflective awareness that helps you step outside your own mental chatter and see it from a vantage point of clarity. In spiritual terms, some call this the higher self, or the soul's perspective. Psychologists might call it metacognition, thinking about thinking. Why is this so powerful? Because once you see the mechanics of your mind, you can't fall for its tricks as easily. You start noticing patterns, repetitive fears, limiting beliefs, negative self-talk, The eye shines a spotlight on these illusions. Sure, it can be uncomfortable at first, like turning on a bright light in a cluttered attic. But once the dust settles, you can clean things up, reorganize, and discard the junk that's been holding you back. In Masonic lore, the eye also symbolizes that unity of body, mind, and spirit. If the triangle stands for these three aspects, the eye sits in the center, reminding us that an integrated life is a watched life, a life lived with awareness and intention. The moment you slip into unconscious patterns or get lost in destructive habits, the eye is the silent alarm that wakes you up. But there's another side to it. Responsibility. Seeing clearly means you can no longer pretend you don't know. You can't hide behind ignorance or blame external forces for every personal failing. The eye calls you to accountability. You see the path, you see the pitfalls, and so the choice becomes undeniably yours. Do you keep repeating the same mistakes, or do you evolve? With all these symbols and lessons in mind, square, compass, eye, the dance of light and darkness, the three pillars, the ascending stairway, it's easy to get caught up in the mystique. But let's ground this in the here and now. The ultimate work is building the inner temple. Picture this temple as your personal haven of integrity, wisdom, and emotional resilience. Every belief you refine becomes another brick. Every moment of self-control, another beam. Every lesson learned from adversity, another foundation stone that strengthens the structure. And guess what? This temple is invisible to the external world. It exists solely within you. That's why the Masons believed it could be more eternal than any stone edifice. Storms, wars, floods. None can tear down what is built inside your character. Yet constructing this temple isn't a weekend project. It's a lifetime pursuit. You don't just read one book or have one aha moment and call it done. Each day offers a chance to add a new layer or refine the existing structure. Each time you face hardship or confusion, you're presented with a blueprint update, an opportunity to redesign, strengthen, or expand. This idea merges practicality with spirituality. On one level, yes, you can see it as purely psychological, building healthy habits, adopting ethical principles, fostering emotional intelligence. On another level, it can be deeply mystical, recognizing that you're part of a larger cosmic tapestry, that your inner temple connects you to universal truths beyond everyday life. The beauty of Masonic symbolism is that it accommodates both views, whether you're deeply spiritual or prefer a more secular approach. The core lesson remains: the greatest construction project you'll ever undertake is yourself. Now that we've journeyed through these symbols, allegories, and secrets, there's one last revelation. You are both the builder and the judge of your temple. No one else can truly evaluate the integrity of your moral foundation, the clarity of your mind, or the sincerity of your heart. People might praise or criticize you, but only you know whether your actions match your principles, whether your temple stands on truth or shaky half-lies. Masonic teachings emphasize that at the end of the day, or the end of a life, you stand before the temple you've built inside. If its stones were laid with apathy or greed, no fancy exterior can hide the cracks. If, however, you labored with honesty, effort, reflection, and a willingness to learn from mistakes, that temple will shine, unshakable in its authenticity. In that sense, the final judgment is not a divine tribunal in the clouds, but an intimate conversation with your own conscience. So where do you go from here? Do you brush this off as an interesting story about old symbols, or do you see it as a call to action? A chance to re-evaluate your priorities, your habits, and your guiding beliefs. The power of Masonic symbolism lies in its ability to inspire transformation, but only if you let it. You can either remain a bystander, content to admire the mystery from the outside, or you can become the builder who picks up the chisel, squares the stones, and starts constructing something remarkable. I want to hear from you. Has learning about this hidden blueprint changed the way you see those familiar Masonic symbols, or even the way you perceive your personal challenges? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Were there moments that resonated? Do you see how some of these tools, square, compass, eye, could be applied in your life right now? And if you're hungry for more revelations, if you sense that you've only just scratched the surface of these timeless teachings, make sure to hit that subscribe button. There's an entire universe of hidden wisdom out there, and what we've covered is just one stepping stone. Next time, we'll uncover more layers, more symbols, and more ways to expand your understanding of who you really are and what you can become. Thank you for watching, and remember, the real journey starts the moment this video ends. The knowledge alone changes nothing unless you choose to act on it. So go forth, builder. The temple is waiting. The tools are in your hands, and the blueprint is etched into your heart. Whether you succeed or fail rests on the foundation you build. One decision, one insight, one moment of courage at a time.